Hello again, everyone. Witch Doctor here, looking at the markets, and I'm looking at the week-over-week activity, talking about the 4-hour charts here, major currencies that you take a look at on a weekly basis here. Again, whereas during the week we look at the hourly charts, you can see here that we're looking at the 4-hour charts, and the importance of this is to take a week over week view of the markets. You can see here that we're looking at the dollar index futures, of course, and this week we were able to break above last week's high. You can see right here at I think it's 82.65, but was not able to sustain that move towards the back end of the week. The last couple of days of the week, you had the dollar index basically pushed down into the low. You got 81.60 before pushing all the way back up to 81.70, closing right here about the low end of the range for the week. And the important thing here is that we did try to break above last week's high, but failed. And that's not what you want to see if the dollar is to remain bullish. You can see this trend line here that came into play. We did break above it, used it as support, and then rallied off of it, and then essentially failed back towards the end of the week. So now the question here is whether or not this is going to continue to move lower and then take out the previous week's low here, and ultimately the 2-week low. Anything can happen. So we got the holiday week ahead of us, and that's part of the reason why I'm thinking that we just have to stay on top of the price action here to see what happens. You can see that the Japanese yen, basically an inside week, not able to push above last week's high or last week's low, down below last week's low, finishing pretty much close to the medium part of the range, right around that 80 level. That's the psychological level. Swiss franc, of course, tried to break out of last week's high, similar to the dollar here, and not able to sustain that move, failing below 96 and pushing back below 95 even. So now the question is whether or not we're going to continue to push lower. Same thing with the Canadian dollar here. You can see that tried to maintain strength here, breaking above last week's high, only to be met with sellers, and then ultimately pushing down towards the lows of the week. I mean, literally right around 101.57. Again, now the question here is whether or not we get a continuation order flow follow through this week. Of course, the euro here tried to break down below last week's low, the opposite of the dollar index, where the dollar index tried to break above last week's high. You can see here that the euro tried to break below last week's low. That's typically what we look for in terms of, the opposite of what the dollar is doing. So euro basically squeezing out a bunch of shorts that were caught here, thinking that we were going to go to the low 120s and really rallying above 125, 126. Now the question here is whether or not we continue to push up towards the 130 even level. Pound dollar here tried to break down below last week's low, of course, not able to sustain that weakness, and found some nice buyers down at 155. You got psychological level there, and proved to be a very nice level of support. Same thing with the Australian dollar here, running into support right around the big parity level. You can see here finding support at 1 even and just below last week's low, not able to get the shorts going, and essentially you can see here right towards the end of the week found more buyers and pushing back above last week's high. As a matter of fact, you can see here pushing and closing above last week's high, firmly pushing above 102. So now the question again, same thing with the dollar, is whether or not the euro, the pound, the Australian dollar can remain strength or keep the momentum to the upside. So in a sense, this week going into the July 4th holiday, what I'll be watching is to see if this dollar continues to show weakness. At the same time, looking to see if the Swissy and the Canadian follow, showing weakness as well. And then on the flip side of the coin, looking to see if the euro, pound, the Australian dollar continue to show strength. If that is the case, then you're going to be getting closer to the 130 level in the euro. and maybe potentially the 160 level in the pound, and obviously reaching up into 105 in the Australian dollar. So that's all I got for this market wrap. We'll catch up to you later. Stay safe. Best regards to all, and we'll see you at the next market wrap.